All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to another Modern League. We're gonna run through another league with Jeskai Monkeyblade. A couple minor changes that I've made to the list. I'm choosing to cut the cryptic commands from my deck for the time being, sort of test out a few other cards in those slots, namely a second Teferi and a Spell Pierce. I think that we're starting to see a slight shift in the metagame towards these Ragavan decks, and I just want more cheap interaction away from Cryptic Command. So yeah, just trying to sort of capitalize on that, and hopefully we have some good games. Let me go ahead and start my queue here. But a couple minor changes to the sideboard. Mostly everything is the same. We did decide to trim on a couple cards that I didn't think were super great in the sideboard. I'm choosing to play a couple copies of Brazen Borrower and Flusterstorm in here now. Again, Flusterstorm I feel like is just kind of another way to, it's like another way to Spell Pierce things, especially in the mirror matches against the Jeskai Monkeyblade mirror match. Being able to Flusterstorm the turn 1 Lightning Bolt on your Ragavan can be powerful. Because it feels like the pattern, so the thinking on that is it feels like the pattern is becoming the person who's on the play, right? So let's say that I win the die roll, I'm on the play, I'm going to play my turn 1 Ragavan. Okay, that's the game plan, right? I'm going to play turn 1 Ragavan. My opponent's going to go to their turn. They're going to play a land, whether it be a fetch land or a red source, and then they pass, and they're in my upkeep, right? So on my second turn on my upkeep, they're gonna bolt the Ragavan. Okay. The reason why many players are choosing to do this right now is because of the existence of Force of Negation in the format. So if they do it on their own turn, if they point a lightning bolt at the Ragavan in their own turn, or if they prismatic ending on their own turn with, which is obviously sorcery speed, they get got by Force of Negation, the monkey connects, we make a treasure, we take the top card of their deck. It starts to snowball very, very quickly, right? So having some ways to interact with that turn 1 play is kind of my thinking on it. It's possible that it's just incorrect to be trying to play, these counter spells that are somewhat ineffective at later points in the game, but I think this deck is shaping up to be more proactive and needs to be more efficient. So I think the Spell Pierce Flusterstorm package could be good. And generally speaking, you're not going to run into an issue where Ralgren Triumph actually causes any issues on your mana base, but you definitely can. You can run into a spot where Ralgren Triumph causes some issues. For example, if you open on turn 1, if you have got turn 1 monkey and your only land is Ralgren Triumph, well, it's like you kind of want to keep that hand, but Ralgren Triumph makes it a turn 2 monkey. Okay, turn 1 Esper Sentinel. I'm gonna lightning bolt that one and pay the 1. I'm gonna lightning bolt that one and pay the 1. Okay, probably holding up Archmage's Charm if I had to guess. Normally you wouldn't. Shock for no reason. So my opponent would like to draw some cards. Somewhat interesting. I think I'm gonna dash the monkey. The reason I'm doing it this way is because if they are holding up Archmage's Charm, they now have to use the Archmage's Charm to counter the monkey rather than take it. They just cast the monkey, they get to just take it, the monkey. But if they choose to use the mode to take the monkey, perfectly okay with that because it's going to go back to my hand at the end of the turn. And they're just letting this hit them. Will not be casting their prismatic ending off the top of their deck, and they chose not to draw 2. No land drop either. Okay, I'm going to run back the same play. Play the monkey. Sword of Feast and Famine. That's powerful. It's a powerful spell. I will be casting that one. This tells me that they are playing Stoneforge Mystics in their deck. Previously, we were not entirely aware of. I had a good guess that that's probably what was happening, but there was one card that I wanted to try out in the sideboard. I want to try out a Grim Lavamancer. Grim Lavamancer would be pretty okay in this matchup. You're just like having a 1-mana creature that pairs very well against their Esper Sentinels and their... Oh wait, Vindicate Your Own Sword. I guess we're not beating it if we just dash the monkey and then suit it up. Okay, got a Jace off their deck, which I will cast. And I will brainstorm with their Jace. I'll put back Prismatic Ending and probably the second Ragavan. I'm just going to play the Spire Bluff Canal tapped and say go, holding up Spell Pierce or Force of Negation. Not both, but one or the other. I don't think I've seen a Ragavan be more potent than that game right there. Sounds fine. Got a turn 1 Lightning Bolt for an Esper Sentinel. Probably not casting it on turn 1, but we have it. Opponent mulligans a 6. Turn 1 Esper Sentinel. Just gonna go land, go. Kill the Esper Sentinel on turn 2. I'm gonna go ahead and do this in their turn, such that if they would like to pay for a counterspell, they will have to do so on their own turn. Also plays around Force of Negation. Okay. This is probably like worst case scenario for us. Them just playing out a Stoneforge Mystic is not the greatest for us. Grabbed a Sword of Fire and Ice. I'm gonna go ahead and draw 2 here. Okay, Brazen Borrower is a pretty solid draw. Means that they commit some mana to equipping the sword. And it is just sword, which is kind of weird to me, but okay, Petty Theft the Stoneforge Mystic back to their hand. This obviously does mean that they get to go grab another equipment when they recast the Stoneforge Mystic, but actually, you know what? Probably just like supposed to convert this Flusterstorm while we can. That Flusterstorm is an absurd draw. Be jamming this Jace, and then Flusterstorming any interaction that they have. So far, in the one match that we've boarded in Flusterstorm, obviously this is the first game, first game, first match, that sort of thing. Yeah, so far Flusterstorm looks pretty good. One thing that I want to sort of note here, hey Dustin, one thing that I want to sort of note here is that the Flusterstorm would have been the exact same as a Dispel in these two spots, right? Dispel your Counterspell, Dispel your Force of Negation. So if we're just playing 2 copies of Dispel, effectively the exact same thing in these scenarios. We may have like boarded incorrectly though, because actually I don't think I have any way to beat this sort of Fire and Ice now that I think about it. I guess we can just like put a Batterskull into play, right? They went and grabbed Cauldra. Yeah, we'll just play out the Batterskull. also would have been the same as Mystical Dispute in the 2 spots that we had it. Mystical Dispute would have countered the blue counterspell and the Force of Negation. So same thing with that. Flusterstorm does count in, like, in addition to the things that we've already noted. Flusterstorm also does counter. Okay, so they're putting in the Cauldra, which is like not the best for us here. I am going to block. Because this puts the Jace to 2. We get to minus on the germ. Okay, so I'm gonna go grab like one of your last equipments. Batter Skull. I'm also gonna go grab Cauldra. These spots are where it definitely gets a little hairy because so my opponent's currently on 6 lands. They can put in a Batter Skull with this Stoneforge Mystic. They can't equip that Batter Skull to anything. They can, however, equip the Cauldra to this Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, which is what they're choosing to do. Now they have an 8/9. And they're just attacking me. I suppose this makes some sense because, well, because the sword is going to proc and it's going to kill me or it's going to kill the Stoneforge or the Jace. Okay, so they are going after the Jace, which I think is better for us because I'd rather have this Stoneforge in play. So on this next turn, we get to, so I am going to flash in this Brazen Borrower here. It's mostly free to do so. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to Stoneforge in the Cauldra, equip the Batter Skull to it, and have a 9/9. We still got the Tarn too. And go in for 9. This is going to gain us 9 life as well. And then, like, at this point, we're sort of at a point where it's whoever draws the, well, if my opponent draws a Stoneforge Mystic or a Sword of Feast and Famine, they're in better shape than I am because they're actually not on the germ. They're on a white creature. But this being a black creature is pretty big deal here because if they put in, okay, so they put in the Batter Skull. And that's fine. Like if they're choosing to attack, we're just gonna like trade creatures here. The thing is like I actually think they have to attack because if they don't, then we just move the Cauldra to the Brazen Borrower and attack for 8. Yeah. So now they just left themselves dead on board. This doesn't have reach or flying. There. Okay. So the Petty Theft was good in that spot. And then in addition to that, it just was a 3/1 flyer that went to exile. We got to cast it later in the game for free. And then it ended up winning us the game because my opponent chose not to attack with their 12/13 Stoneforge Mystic that had a Batter Skull and a Cauldra on it. And I think it had a Sword of Fire and Ice on it as well. They chose not to attack with that creature. Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting game for sure. Monkey versus monkey. Okay, we drew a Stoneforge Mystic. So I am gonna play my turn 1 monkey. If they attack, we are almost certainly blocking. If they try to kill the monkey, I'm gonna force pitching to Fairy. But yeah, it won us that game for sure. I think that was probably the one card that ended up winning us that game. Just the Brazen Borrower in general. Being able to equip a Cauldra to a Brazen Borrower was pretty solid there. So bolt your monkey. I would appreciate it if we didn't do that. You got another one? Go on and attack. No, you want to. All right. Are we greedy? And do we assume that there is not a spell on top of our deck that they're gonna get to cast? What's like worst case scenario for us? Probably like worst case scenario would be if they found a Teferi, but they already tapped out of white. So like they would have to use their treasure for blue or white. So I don't think that Teferi is like super scary. They could find a Stoneforge Mystic. They might be playing equipment. Oh, no, they're not playing equipments because they're playing Lyris. So that's of note. I kind of don't hate just like taking this and attacking back with my own Ragavan. And then like Stoneforge Mystic block next turn. It's probably incorrect though. Let's block. Monkey, Thoughtseize. Okay. Hey, Big Oofta. Good morning. Okay, yeah, Dash Monkey is a little bit awkward. I am going to go ahead and go grab a Hallowed Fountain here. Opponent finds a Scalding Tarn. Not a huge deal. Kind of felt like they had second monkey when they attacked with the first monkey, but wasn't too sure. Best draws for us here would be Counterspell, Archmage's Charm, Lightning Bolt is a fine one. We just want some way to interact with the dashed monkey. Okay. Them choosing to draw there is like huge for us. They're just like basically they sacrificed 2 lands there because they cracked a treasure for it. They're just like seems like a really greedy play from my opponent. So if they just play the monkey, no dash, we are going to probably take it with our Archmage's Charm, assuming they tap out. If they don't tap out, we may not take that line. They're not dashing. Okay. I think I'm going to draw 2. I don't think I want to take the monkey. We got monkeys of our own. We got a Lightning Bolt to point at this monkey. I'd rather make some land drops and get to casting Batterskull. Yeah. Spire Bluff Canal tapped. Bolt your monkey. I technically did that incorrectly. So for clarity on that, you are supposed to bolt the monkey at start of combat because if they have another monkey that they want to dash, now he has the opportunity to do so. Inquisition's a good sight from our opponent. Just having like a 1 mana, they don't do anything. Dash monkey, dash monkey. So it wouldn't have mattered in this particular iteration anyways because of the 1 mana discard. So our opponent inquisitions us, we bolt the monkey in play, then they can't take anything out of our hand. However, there's still a monkey that they choose to dash. Archmage's Charm is basically impossible for them to cast, so not worried about that one. I think I'm actually in on no attacks, or no Batter Skull, rather, not no attacks. Of course, I'm not attacking. I'm going to just say pass and Snapcaster Archmage's Charm, because this way we have a way to interact with our opponent in the form of Archmage's Charm, but also we can just block the monkey if they choose to dash it. So feels like a good turn for my opponent to go ahead and pick up Lurrus, I would think. Pick up Lurrus, like cast the monkey for 1, but maybe they choose to dash it, I don't know. Like, dashing is technically better against Archmage's Charm, so. Okay, so they pick up Lurrus. No monkey. So we're just gonna go snap Archmage's Charm, draw 2. I don't really know what this is. Fetch for mountain. Draw 2. Okay. Attack for 2. I think here I'm gonna go to Fairy, and I'm gonna go ahead and pick up my Snapcaster Mage. Drew a Force of Negation, which is a solid little draw there. Feels like a Lurrus. Yep, Lurrus can't interact with that one on the stack. We're just gonna go bolt this. Maybe I'm supposed to go snap bolt this, actually. Grab an island and snap bolt this. Reason I'm choosing to do this is because if they do dash a Ragavan, we've got the Snapcaster to block. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just jam the Batter Skull into play here. I am somewhat aware that, I am aware that this does technically take us off of Force of Negation hard cast, but we have to use it. We have the Spell Pierce to pitch, which is probably not doing anything anyways. We might be able to snag like a Batter Skull with the Spell Pierce, but we'll see. They're not playing Batter Skull. For some reason in my head, I was still thinking that they're playing Stoneforge Mystic, but I wonder why he didn't get back a Ragavan instead of Bobble. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure what the correct play is there. I'm okay with them just exiling this Germ. I'm just going to put the Batter Skull on the Snapcaster Mage. Bolt the Snapcaster Mage. Well. I think, again, I'm okay with this because like we have other creatures that we can draw to. We can also just pick up the Batter Skull and then recast it. Pretty okay with them dashing Ragavan. I'm just going to bolt it. Gonna go ahead and grab a Hallowed Fountain, tapped. I suppose I should have technically let them go to their post-combat and take their actions, because we can still Spell Pierce something. So, minor mistake there. Didn't cost us anything. Stoneforge, go grab... I think it's time for Kaldra, honestly. It's hard castable, so kind of doesn't matter either way. So we'll bring in the Brazen Borrower and try this out. Just another creature to suit the sword up with as well. Okay, they kept 7, which tells me they're probably on turn 1 Monkey. I'll keep this. It could go sideways with off the back of turn 1 monkey from my opponent's side, but Dragon's Rage Channeler, that's much better for us. Flusterstorm's not a terrible draw. Flusterstorm does mean that we get to interact with their turn 1 discard spell, or turn 2 discard spell rather. Are we dashing monkey? They're dashing through the snow. What a little old monkey. Okay. I am going to counter this one. I'm gonna go grab a Hallowed Fountain. Just want to like convert where I can. Flusterstorm's not gonna have a ton of targets in this matchup, so just kind of using it as a spell pierce here is fine. Obviously, you know, it still trades 1 for 1, which is kind of all Thoughtseize is going to end up doing anyways, but it, you know, keeps our hand information away from our opponent and ensures that they can only take the Flusterstorm, basically. I have no idea what no attack means. I guess they just click through their attack step. I'm really not sure what happened there. I'm going to take the one from the channeler, and then end of their turn, we're going to... Came for the sweet smile in the Twitch avatar. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for tuning in, Sataros. We're going to go ahead and discard... Probably just... It's kind of interesting here. Maybe Teferi's the worst card in our hand. We'll discard Teferi. Not really a ton that I want to bounce on this board. I'm going to end up bouncing this anyways. Teferi, I guess, is good against Kroxa. So there's that, but we're probably going to end up countering Kroxa. I'm going to Petty Theft this. Guys. I got my first Twitch emote. Check that bad boy out. Monkas for days. Yeah, I'm okay with this one. I can just take it. I can also just block it now. Am I supposed to take the channeler? I don't hate it. Kind of a... Let's take the channeler. Among Us. Well, this is slightly awkward. In my head, I was taking a 3/3. But he's a 1/1 on my side. I probably should have started with pre-combat Jace, because we can surveil something into the graveyard that we don't already have. Go for the 4th card type. But not a huge deal. It's probably going to exchange the Seal of Fire here. Yep. It's fine. Yep, that would give it +2/+2. I think I'm going to bottom, or I'm going to grave that. Probably not, actually. Put the Cauldron back, and counter spell back is fine. Probably should have put Prismatic Ending back on top, just in case they have discard spell into Kroxa. Going to discard the Stoneforge Mystic to this ability. Ending does feel pretty solid here, I agree. Kroxa! I'm getting croxed. A brainstorm. Wow, no land again. Okay, I'm gonna put back Archmage's Charm and Teferi. Prismatic Ending. That you know what? Freedom Ninja 924. That reminds me. I have another emote idea. So my first emote was the monkey. But my second emote is going to be something to do with Jace only having one mode. And that mode is Brainstorm. Okay? Jace only does one thing. These other abilities are just for show. The +2, -1, -12, all for show. It says 0 ability right there. That's all he does. Okay? Just remember that he does it every turn. You just untap. You just go bloop. I was supposed to counterspell the first one, but it's a good thing my opponent just went, okay, I guess I'll cast this other one too. And give you something else to counter. Draw 3. You can take, oh well, never mind. I was like, well, I could bolt it, but there's this and this in play, so I can't do that. We're gonna go put the Archmage's Charm on top. Cauldron on top of that. Teferi. Bounce the shadow. Bolt myself and steal the shadow. The blaze. My opponent will never see it coming. Haven't found a single land off this Jace, so we want to find some mana sources here at some point. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of minor changes that I don't think I updated on the Stream Decker. You right. Oh no, he's killing my monkey. Not my monkey. Lightning Helix Death Shadow combo. Combo. Probably just supposed to bounce, right? Oh, Freedom Ninja has made a solid point. Jace only brainstorms. We will be brainstorming this turn. That was a good line, Freedom Ninja. I appreciate you finding me these 3 lightning bolts. I suppose we'll be killing our opponent instead. So, like, hide 2 bolts, I guess? Yeah, hide 2 bolts. Plus, your turn. Ideally, yeah, he goes with the Jace. This is all fine. He's just dead to a Brazen Borrower plus 4 lightning bolts. And he can't respond. Because Teferi time stinker. Yeah, it's okay if he has removal in hand, that's fine. Teferi time stinker says no removal for you, good sir. That's a shadow. Pick up Luris. I would like to cast this Brazen Borrower. I would like to lightning bolt you. I would like to untap, and I would like to lightning bolt you. Smack you. Well then. You guys ever brainstormed into 3 copies of lightning bolt? It feels pretty good. Turn 1 monkey. This deck is sweet, bro. I don't know why I keep trying to like play other decks. Like, I'll find some other way to play the monkey. I'll play something else. Just play the blue cards with the monkey. Monkey blue cards. And like a little bit of white. Just a little bit of white. Just a little bit of white. Make sure that your opponent doesn't do anything silly. That's really all the white's for, right? Just to make sure that your opponent doesn't do anything silly. Cauldron is just to make sure that Titan doesn't do anything silly. Batterskull is just to make sure that Burn doesn't do anything silly. Sword of Feast and Famine, it's just there to make sure that Yawgmoth doesn't do anything silly. Asmora doesn't do anything silly, right? All the equipments, they're all there just to make sure that the other decks don't do anything silly. But Stoneforge is a white card. We gotta play a little bit of white, make sure that the other decks don't do anything silly. You know what I'm saying? Then you like look at our sideboard, got all these white cards in our sideboard, just there to make sure that the other decks don't do anything silly. Why would you? That is so disrespectful. Is a dead monkey. We're just throwing a bunch of monkeys in chat. Do I dash le monkey? Or do I cast le monkey? Probably supposed to hold up counter this turn, right? Because like this is the turn they do their thing. We don't get to do monkey things this turn, chat. Shock Steam Vents pass is... Oh, that's not that bad for me, actually. I was gonna say this is terrifying, but it's not actually terrifying because they don't have a green source. They can't cast Violent Outburst right now. Probably go Monkey. Let's hold up Counterspell this turn. I like bad deck ideas. Go ahead, bro. Throw it in the chat. Tell me what you got brewing. Probably supposed to fetch here in my main phase, because if I don't, then anytime that, like, so if they go play a land, specifically a green source, then they can cast Violent Outburst in response to my fetch land, which is a play that you do see these players make every now and again. So want to make sure that we don't get got. Would you quit doing that? He's a dead monkey. Wow, Teferi too? Don't tell me you got a Mystical Rebuke or something, whatever the Mystical Dispute, that's what that card's called. I think I'm supposed to jam Jason to play this turn. I know that technically they can just untap and like do the thing, but they don't currently have a green source, so I think I would rather get Jace going and potentially find a Force of Negation here anyways. Stoneforge Mystic is pretty solid. I don't think we're going to end up needing this Lightning Bolt this game. I'm going to go Island on top, Prismatic Ending on top of that. Oh, they have Ardent Plea. No, not Ardent Plea. This is actually not that big of a deal for us because Archmage's Charm just trades like 1-for-1 with the Rhinos. With the Footfalls as a whole, rather. I think I'm gonna go a Brainstorm. Put back the equipments. Oh, they have Exalted. Good point, good point. So we Prismatic one, we Archmage's Charm the other. Gimme. Yay, we got a Rhino. Look at my Rhino. He is my Rhino. You guys remember Lion King? Is Pumbaa a rhino? Pumbaa's like a warthog, right? Cause what does he say? Cause I am a good warthog. He says like I'm good warthog. Wow, dude. That's just disrespectful. Hey, Cursed Bills fan, subscribe with Prime. Appreciate the subscription, man. Really appreciate the support. Thank you for that. Thanks for tuning into the stream. Jace only has one mode. Brainstorm. Is this Violent Outburst in response? Are we casting Brazen Borrower? Violent Outburst in response. Okay. This makes some sense because they wanna wait until Jace activates his ability. At which point I can no longer bounce a token. I can no longer bounce a Rhino. And that's fine. That's fine by me. So we're gonna draw into a copy of Sword of Feast and Famine. And it looks like a Ragavan and a land. We're gonna put the I think this turn's probably best suited for play Ragavan, play Batterskull, tuck away the sword, and a land. Just put the Steam Bins back. Don't want to pay 2 life for my land right here. Ragavan. It's my boy, Nasty Raggy. Jacob says, yo, I went 4-2 in the event. I was 4-1. Me and my opponent could have both drawed into top 8, but he wanted to play and beat me, so I got 10. Shake my head. Attacking with 1 Rhino? Attacking with 2 Rhinos. Okay. All right. Probably supposed to chump block here. I know. We're throwing the monkey under the bus. Everybody shed a quick tear for the monkey. Compose yourself. Oh shit. These rhinos have trample. Big F, bro. These rhinos have trample. See, what had happened was, in my head, the rhinos didn't have trample. Nice. Was the Esper Sentinel, was it decent throughout the day? I haven't gotten to play test it a ton, but I do think that Esper Sentinel is pretty promising in Green White Heliod. Lost a blue living in and black green sack. So like Yawgmoth combo. Gross. Did we put a land back on top of our deck? Do you guys know? You guys remember? I don't remember what we put on top of our deck. Yeah. So the land is pretty solid here. It means we get to go Stoneforge Mystic into are we grabbing Cauldron here, or are we grabbing sort of Feast and Famine? Feast and Famine's not bad. Cauldron's like kind of broken though, right? I don't think it matters too much which one of these we end up getting. But Cauldron, so I guess Cauldron is better in the sense that Cauldron lets us, I'll go ahead and equip here. Cauldron lets us put the indestructible creature into play, which is better on offense. So like if we attack with the Cauldron plus Batter Skull equipped, that is better because they can't double block the Cauldron. Like in any way, they're not gonna be able to double block the Cauldron. Freedom Ninja says Batter Skull is pretty good at just grinding out the Rhino deck. I think I agree. Batter Skull is pretty solid here. It's one thing that's like kind of interesting about these combo decks as Modern is like what they're doing is powerful on turn 3, but like as the game goes longer and longer, it's just like it's kind of subpar to some degree, especially if your opponent's just like gaining a billion life. For some reason, I was thinking this was my Brazen Borrower. That's their Brazen Borrower. So they got 12, 15 power in play, and we're at 16. But if they swing out, they're obviously only hitting us for 8, 11, and we're gaining 5. So we would take 6 if they swing out. Jacerco, or Jacerco, not sure how to pronounce your username, but appreciate the follow. Jacerco117 makes me wonder if the 117 is is a Halo reference. At least what I think of whenever I see the number 117. Just as a curious question for all you guys, does anybody in my chat currently play Smash, like the new Smash Ultimate game? Because at E3, which was like last week, they announced the new fighter. It's like a Tekken character. Yeah, from Master Chief. Yeah, okay, that's what I was assuming. My kitty cat's climbing around back behind me. But no, they announced like the new fighter for Smash, and I was just like super fingers crossed that they were gonna add Master Chief to the game. It was a stretch, but I think Nintendo's doing more stuff with Microsoft in general. So like, am I supposed to just put in Cauldron and like equip the Batter Skull? Probably not, because if they have another Brazen Borrower, it's like real bad for us. So I'm just gonna get in with the Stoneforge. You know, it's like, it's probably not the best game for like a competitive scene, just because like there's a lot of variance in it, because like the characters are so different, and like the balancing is not the best, because like it's not, you know, it's not heavily supported by Nintendo as a competitive game. Oh, melee all day. Okay, I see what you're saying. All right, gotcha. Oi! What are you doing? My kitty cat's just like climbing all around our pop shelf. So we will assign blockers like this, and I'm gonna put this Cauldron to play. My opponent has finally passed priority back, so I'm gonna quit spieling about Urza Saga. The damage. Equip really well. Okay, so my opponent has conceded the first game. I am gonna keep this hand. Triumph. Shambling Vent's okay, but it's like not great. My opponent has conceded the match. Well, they could have. Opponent kept 7. I'll keep this. It's not a great hand, but we've got 2 removal spells and technically a force that we can cast. Oh wait, we're on the play. For some reason I thought we were on the draw. Inquisition. We are being inquisited. Yeah, I'll just play this tapped. I know this does give them like full knowledge on our hand, but I think that's okay. I'd rather just not pay 2 life against what's probably a black-red deck if I had to guess. Okay, second Inquisition. Probably taking the Sword of Feast and Famine if I had to guess is like the second most powerful card in our hand. Probably quite difficult for them to beat as well. I say second because Snapcaster was the first, if that wasn't clear. Thought Sneeze you. I don't like all these discard spells, bro. Are we playing as Pox? I'm just gonna play this and say go. Feels like they could be lining up a Liliana on this turn. There's a part of me that wants to play Sword of Feast and Famine there, but feels like Pox. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna take take one of our cards out of our hand anyways, so we may as well just trade that there. We'll cast Sword here and just pass. If they play something like a Raven's Crime here, I would rather discard the Flooded Strand. Man, now we're just getting punished. That's the worst case scenario for us. Lusitani to Baralho. Sorry if I butchered your username, but I appreciate the follow. Thanks for tuning in, man. Okay, we're gonna suit up the sword on the monkey. Prime Pickings asks, can you walk me through why Sword of Feast and Famine is the sword of choice in this deck? Yeah, absolutely. So, your options are basically Sword of Fire and Ice or Sword of Feast and Famine. I think those are the 2 best swords, and I don't think it's particularly close in Modern. There's a couple scenarios where like you might want to be playing Sword of the black-red one that was printed in Modern Horizons 1. I can't remember the exact name of it, but that sword blows up artifacts and planeswalkers. So like if there's a metagame where like Karn, 4-mana Karn is good, obviously we're on the presumption that we have suited up the sword before 4-mana Karn is in play, because you know obviously 4-mana Karn is going to prevent you from suiting up the sword. But like there's some scenarios where that's okay. But yeah, if there's like any like prison style decks that play like 4-mana Chandra and Ensnaring Bridge isn't the best example, but like Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere, something like that. That's where the black-red swords shines, specifically for this deck. So, okay, tuck that thought away. The black-red sword is not really my sword of choice. What I am, so my opponent discarded the last card and they're choosing to Infernal Tutor for a card here. Probably gonna go find the rack if I had to guess. Not too sure. But basically, Sword of Feast and Famine is a card that, one, does pull you ahead because it takes cards out of your opponent's hands. Yep, it is in fact a copy of the rack. You know what would be great here? Let's just find a copy of the rack off the top of my opponent's deck here. That would be wonderful. Nether Spirit. Oh, I can't cast that one. It's black. Okay. I'm going to hold the Flooded Strand in our hand because this will deal 1 less damage to us because the sword is in our hand. Oh, no. Okay, well. Probably going to lose this game. Yeah, and they've got Mutavaults to attack me with too. So yeah, Sword of Feast and Famine, generally speaking, the short answer, I suppose, is just that Sword of Feast and Famine plays really well with counterspells. So like you play your guys, you equip a Sword of Feast and Famine. I'm going to concede to Liliana. We're just never going to have another card in our hand, and we are threatless currently, so we'll concede to this one. Okay, so cards that aren't super great. Lightning Bolt doesn't really do much. Wear Tear seems kind of bonkers. It blows up both the rack and it also blows up the... what's the other? Can't remember the name of the other one. Shrieking Affliction. Trades for those. It's pretty solid. Sort of Fire and Ice is fine. Draws you cards. Which I think is better in this matchup than Sword of Feast and Famine. So yeah, like these 4 out, these 4 in. Could bring in Flusterstorm. It's not the best. Force of Negation's probably just better. We'll just play it like this. It's probably fine. Not a huge deal. So yeah, for Sword of Feast and Famine, so like there's gonna be more games where you want to put in your sword and then attack with your creature, take a card out of your opponent's hand, and then proceed to untap your lands, and then when you untap your lands, then you get to continue casting your. You can cast a Planeswalker, you can cast, counter spells, Archmage's Charm, things like that. So just in general, Sword of Feast and Famine is one of the is the sword that just kind of pulls this deck ahead on mana, really. Okay, well, I'm not casting that one. Gonna go grab... I think I'm gonna grab Cauldra here. Somewhat interesting. Sort of Fire and Ice is like better if we get to start connecting with the sword. I think I'm gonna grab Cauldra here. Not too sure about that one. So Prime Pigs and okay, Zdex asks, when you play against Jund, do you go get Sword of Feast and Famine or Batterskull? It's obvious. It's always contextual. There's situations where Sword of Feast and Famine is going to be better, and there's going to be situations where Batterskull is going to be better. So it's super contextual. Flusterstorm is mostly there for the mirror. Yeah. Other blue-red decks, it's fine against, but yeah, mostly there for the mirror. Wonder if my opponent's going to trade a Mutavault for this monkey. Certainly possible, and it would be bad for us, but we'll see. Um, whew, no, please. Okay. Guess we're playing this game. Freemania says, did you see that Canister top 8'd the challenge with your lists? A couple small changes like Big Tef. I saw his list earlier today and I saw that he was doing okay in the challenge. I didn't see that he had successfully top 8'd, but I did see his list and I saw that he was playing around with Big Teferi. Personally, I'm not entirely convinced that Big Teferi is the direction that you want to be taking this deck. I personally think that, you know, going a smaller build is like more the style that you should probably be leaning on. I'm going to discard a counter spell here, I think. So like making room for things like Spell Pierce and Flusterstorm and things like that, I think is like more where you want to be rather than trying to fit 5 Mana Teferi in your deck. I could be wrong. 5 Mana Teferi is obviously a very, very playable and solid modern card. So I personally wouldn't take the deck that route, but seems solid enough. Obviously, he top 8'd with it. What I will say is that Big Teferi does mean that your Ragavans get slightly better. Like just being able to Ragavan out a Big Teferi early seems pretty solid. So I'm going to go ahead and play Flooded Strand. Only cards I'm really not sold on are Stony Silence and Test of Talents. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, obviously the metagame is going to shift a little bit as you know, people start to figure out which cards are good, which cards are not, which ones, you know, fit the bill and which ones don't. You know, the sideboard's going to change pretty drastically. The thing is like, I've seen a lot of people talk some discrepancies about my choice to play Stony Silence in the sideboard. I am personally of the opinion that Stony Silence is the best sideboard card against the affinity decks. It turns off their lands, turns off their Springleaf Drums, turns off, you know, the cranial platings. Like, it just turns off so much of their deck that you kind of just beat them with what's left over. Yeah, I don't really care for Kataki because like I don't want to tax myself on my own turns. The game plan is to you know, make it such that their deck does basically nothing, and then put a Batter Skull into play. And then just like kill them with a bat. Like they're not gonna be like, yes, I don't get to move the Batter Skull to like a Cauldra, but they're not gonna be able to beat the Batter Skull if like all of their artifacts just do basically nothing. I could take the Shrieking Affliction here, but I'm going to draw 2. I'm going to go Stoneforge Mystic, grab Batter Skull. Do need to start gaining some life here. And we have Counterspell up this turn. If they make us discard with Liliana, I'm probably going to discard the Spire Bluff Canal. Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of Kataki, but it's a solid sideboard option though, for sure. Kataki's pretty good against the affinity decks as well, obviously. It also obviously holds a sword, which I like. But Kataki does get Galvanic Blasted. Sacrifice a creature. Yeah, that's fine. Stoneforge goes bye-bye. My opponent's hand's been like really awkward. Like they went turn 1 Shrieking Affliction. They've had no discard this entire game. Am I supposed to counter this just to like gain 2 life effectively? I mean, like I know that like I'm just gonna convert my card here just to like spend my mana. I know this is like technically just gonna come back next turn, but I think that's fine. Kind of an awkward spot there for sure. Very says, what do you think about sideboard Kozilek that people seem to be running for mill? I think Kozilek's probably the best option that you have for mill. So if like you expect mill to be good, I would probably be playing a Kozilek in the sideboard. The thing is like you can still beat mill with this deck even without the Kozilek. You know, the addition of Kozilek to your sideboard means you're never going to lose to mill, right? Like you're just like 100% on this, just never going to have any issues with that particular matchup. Play Batterskull. Shields are down here, so if my opponent has something super stinky, we could definitely lose some here. They need like Smallpox into. Just gonna discard the Firebluff Canal. Yeah, we beat Mill in the finals on in that challenge that we played. Man, I'm gonna die to their creatures. This stinks. Just died to a random Bloodghast. Ordered out my lightning bolts. Possible last turn I wasn't supposed to play out the Batterskull. So like the only real line that I have here is they're gonna uptick Liliana. I think we have to discard the Jace. We go Brazen Borrower, your Bloodghast back to your hand. Play Borrower. We're down to 1 card, so we can't do that. The unfortunate thing is like we have all the cards we need, so to speak. But we just don't have enough mana to do it. Really needed the Batterskull to stick around. So if we play Jace, Brainstorm, we go to 3 cards in hand. We play the land, we play the Borrower, we go to 1 card in hand, and then in our upkeep, we die to the Shrieking Affliction. So even that doesn't save us. Like the problem is like if we go interact with their board with the Brazen Borrower to some degree, then it checks on resolution. So you can draw 2 cards, you can bounce Batterskull. So yes, we have like ways to technically beat this or whatever, but we could just play Jace and like minus on the Nether Spirit. And then like if they attack the Jace, we get 1 more draw step. We lose a card to the Liliana. We could steal the Affliction. I don't hate that line. Steal the Affliction, bounce one of their threats in combat. We go to 1. I think that's probably the best line here, right? Bounce the Nether Spirit. We go to 1. Steal the Affliction. Untap, and we have like Brazen Borrower still in exile. But we're not beating, like the Brazen Borrower doesn't block. So yeah, it's like we're pretty doomed here for sure. But I think the best line is steal Affliction, bounce their creature in combat. And this almost certainly just beats us, right? The thing is, chat, we're struggling to beat the board as it is. So like, my opponent has literally anything. We're losing this game. So. What can we draw here to get us out of this? It's very little. It's very little that gets us out of this. If anything. Does Snapcaster Mage get us out of this? It's like pretty freaking close, right? Snapcaster Mage for Archmage's Charm to draw 2. We block the Bloodghast. We take 2 from the Nether Spirit. We got a Lightning Bolt in their graveyard. It would get us out of this. It's kind of crazy. Like almost had this. Well, the only thing that we can do is we can't even snap Archmage's Charm because it would yeah. We're just gonna die to the Liliana like uptick. They get to Edict us, take the Snapcaster Mage off the board, so it just kind of doesn't matter. So that's a rough matchup for sure. It's definitely one that Pox feels pretty good in, I would say. Going for the 4/1. Okay, got a turn 1 Spell Pierce, which is kind of cool. What does this mean? That they have turn 1 Lightning Bolt? Or is this like Living End? Turn 1 Cycle. I'm gonna go grab a Batter Skull. A Booter Skull. So they did tap red to insinuate that they had a Lightning Bolt. Even if they don't technically have a Lightning Bolt here, I'm still grabbing Batter Skull. They have Bolt, they don't have Bolt, I'm grabbing Batter Skull every time. So I did consider like just waiting a turn and then Spell Piercing the Bolt, you know, like playing Stoneforge on turn 3 and then Spell Piercing the Bolt, which probably would have been fine, but I'm just gonna play out Tarn, say go. Go grab a Hallowed Fountain tapped on the end of turn if they don't do anything. We'll force a negation something if we can. Actually, this is probably a Blood Moon deck, so we probably should be grabbing basic islands. Just play a Steam Vents tapped. My opponent keeps 7? I don't even know. I think I'm going to go ahead and just play the Batter Skull. And like if they play a Blood Moon, we'll just force pitching Spell Pierce. If they don't draw their land, then kind of doesn't matter. Booter Skull's gonna start smacking them. Are we stomping me so we don't have to discard? Okay, no, this is a Renin 6. Okay, so they didn't play Ren and 6 last turn. So either they played around a counterspell, or they just drew Ren and 6, which means that they don't have a land to get back with the Ren and 6. I'm just going to let this resolve because I don't think it matters a ton anyways. We can just kill it with the germ. Yeah, they don't have a fetch land to grab back anyways. They just don't want to move to hand size. Attack the Ren and 6. Play out Spire Bluff, Canal tapped. Say go. We've been fogged, no. It's looking a little foggy out there. Getting hard to see. My opponent has conceded. They chose not to give me more information. They didn't want to move to hand size. I got a bolt. I keep. Got a bolt in the force. A fetch. Okay, am I supposed to force this? I don't think so. They're like playing Ren and 6 in their deck, so if I just force this, it's just kind of awkward because they just like play Ren and 6 on turn 2 and it just doesn't matter. Play my Spire Bluff Canal. Jamming a Blood Moon into play. No, thank you, sir. I think I'm gonna pitch Snap. Little old snappy boy. Steam Vents. Your turn. Open to draw. Basic Island. Glacial Fortress. Fetch Land. Something like that next turn. Okay. Blood bride. Cascade. Into so Arboreal Elf. I think I'm okay with both of these creatures, so I'm just gonna like bolt the Bloodbreed. I'll just continue holding up counterspell following turns. I bolt him 3 damage at the Ugly Witch Lady. Is that the young Ponza? It certainly looks like a young Ponza. Smells kind of like a young Ponza. This is another Bloodbraid. Chandra. This is just rude. I don't like Chandra. I mean, we gotta counter this. The question is, like, which of our spells we're using to counter it. It's probably counter spell. Although if we draw a land, counter spell is better for Stoneforge. It's like Stoneforge plus counter spell backup. Obviously, they're representing Blood Moon here, which is terrifying. But, probably not beating Blood Moon anywho's. At this point, at least. So I'm gonna fetch. I'm gonna go get a Hallowed Fountain. And we're gonna Archmage's Charm this Chandra off the stack. Get him out of here. This one. This one. Let me cast it. Let me cast it. Give me back priority. Counter. Your spell has been countered. What? How can he keep getting away with this, chat? Bro, I was told that Ponza players couldn't play Veil of Summer because it's a bad cascade off Bloodbraid Elf. That's what they told me. Look at this. I hope you cascade into... Well, actually, never mind. I cast a blue spell this turn, so that card would actually draw you a card. Halt! What? Excuse me while I compose myself. It's going to take a minute. Okay, so... Slightly punishing on the mana base, but we're going to lead on Steam Bins. And there's a reason why. If we play the Spire Bluff Canal untapped on turn 1, which is like what we want to do, right? Get the opportunity to Lightning Bolt our opponent on turn 1. Or well, a creature that they play, right? Particularly one of the Arboreal Elf variant. However, if we choose to do that, we cannot cast our Stoneforge Mystic on turn 2 because Stone Froggy Dog needs this Glacial Fortress to enter untapped, and we need an island in order to do that. Do I grab a Booter Skull? Or it's probably Booter Skull. X Phoenix says this deck killed me in top yesterday. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm sorry that I created a monster. But yeah, this deck's pretty solid so far. So there's a lot of people that have taken some attention to it, and a lot of people that are liking it. So I'm glad that the Magic community has taken such an appeal to the Monkeyblade. Ren and Sticks. Took game 2 off of it. The monkey hit and stole a Ren to dig out of a mole, so I lost game 3. Ooh, rest in peace, brother. If my monkey hit a Ren and Sticks off the top of my opponent's library, I'd probably be jumping for joy, dude. I'm gonna play the canal and pass. Just hold up Bolt plus put Batterskull into play. I still can't currently line up Bloodbraid Elf on this turn, so I don't need Teferi to be in play just yet. I suppose the consideration is like maybe we want to play Teferi that turn anyways, because if they just play Blood Moon here, it's kind of bad for us. Still get to put the Batterskull into play, but looks like they might be lining up turn 3 Blood Moon here. A Blood Moon. This one. Okay, well that card's uncastable. Then play out my basic island. 5 damages at the Ren and Sticks. So our opponent has basically locked us out of casting most of our deck off the top of our library. However, there are still some cards that we can draw to, and they still have to beat the cards in play. We can draw any of our equipment. Those are fine draws. We can draw more basic islands. Those are also fine draws. They're not the greatest, but, you know, they're fine. Chandra is just rude. Probably going to point 4 damage at the germ if I had to guess. And we'll just pick up the germ. Yeah, this is like, isn't even that bad for us. We're just going to attack. Gonna pick up Batterskull, attack this for 1, put the Batterskull back into play. Wow, that's rude. Can't cast that one. What if you equip Batterskull to the Stoneforge Mystic instead of bouncing it? that combination of, or that sequence loses to Lightning Bolt. I would prefer to just recast the Batter Skull. Obviously, like they had Pillage, so it kind of doesn't matter which line you take, but. No! Not blood. Wow, another Pillage. Not my basic island, no. Well, we're still like in okay shape. We still have monkeys to draw to. If we draw any monkeys, they start making mana. And the treasures are like pretty good. Yeah, this is like fine. Like, well, I thank you for pointing that lightning bolt at my Stoneforge Mystic. Like it. They got more stuff to cast. It's another Bloodbraid. Oh my god. Oh my god. They got it all. Okay, so they just found a Utopia Sprawl, which is like pretty solid for us. We just need their Cascades to like miss if they're just gonna keep casting Bloodbraids. Nope. This list does not play basic planes, and I think it is incorrect to play basic planes. Obviously, this is the one matchup where that feels bad, but I think it is incorrect to play basic planes in this deck. So the Seasoned Pyromancer is pretty bad for us here. We're kind of at the point where we've spent too many turns. Like our opponent had interaction for the things that we had in play. We didn't have counter magic for the things that they had, and we spent too many turns where we just didn't find anything. So I think we're at the point where it's probably going to be GG's, but we'll take a few more draw steps. A dashed monkey's still pretty solid here. We draw a monkey off the top, still like pretty solid. That's fine. Okay, I will concede to drawing Flooded Strand off the top of my deck.